Okay. Alrighty.
Okay, so for someone who can't walk away and go to the woods for 7 years, what would be where would you get them to start?
Well, it depends on where they are. We have to look at what it is that their challenge they're faced with, and sit down and look at what they want. What is they want to accomplish? What is it? Where do you want to go? What do you want from sitting down with me? What is it that you want to change in your life, or enhance, or whatever it is that's you're tripping over? We all have baggage. We all have stuff going on. But what is your particular need? And we'll sit down and we'll set up a plan. And I'll share some of the stories around what you're facing that I went through that helped me.
Okay. So who do you think is your ideal client? Who is your favorite type of person to work with?
Well, I'd say from my experience that the baby boomers who have, I look at people that are successful like I was, but they're not happy. They got success, they have material success, but they still there's something missing. What is missing in my life? And I felt that way. I had the money, I had all the things. I belonged to the right clubs. I had a successful company, but I was miserable inside. I did not have the inside part. And helping people understand that you can get inside and start to make changes, which will change your life outside.
So for the people who just want to hire a coach to help them do that, when you was going back to those years before you went 7 years into the retreat, you hired a coach. You hired I think you remember you said you hired a spiritual coach.
Yes.
A emotional coach.
Yes.
What do you think was the difference between hiring the coaches then and then your 7-year retreat? Like, what was it for you about those coaches that did not work?
Well, they all work. They're all pieces of the puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I tell people now, I'm still a work in process. Mm-hmm. Because you're always growing and changing and looking at things differently. And at that time, I needed what they had to offer. I had therapists tell me, well, I've given you all I can. You need to find somebody else. I push and reach and when I get to a point of understanding, and if they're not able to take me to the next level, then I go to the next person. So I have gone through a number of coaches and of all types, and I've taken workshops all over the country because I'm a seeker. I seek knowledge and seek ways to make myself better. And
okay.
Yeah.
So you did get something out of all those coaches and out of all the workshops. You kept growing and kept expanding.
Yes.
But it was during that 7 years that you really started opening up and understanding.
The thing that happened on the retreat was, when I was seeing these coaches and seeing these therapists and all, I was still running my company. I was still running 90 miles an hour. I had the number one addiction in our country, busyness. When you're busy, you don't feel. You just stay busy. And I spent my life like that. At IBM, I was super busy, but I was super successful. So being busy in our culture is looked at as a good thing. Because, look at that person, he's really busy. Well, he doesn't feel or she doesn't feel because they're too busy to feel. So when I went to the retreat, I stopped everything. So I had mom on one shoulder, dad on one shoulder, telling me what a shit I was for not doing this, not doing that. So I had to deal with my old stuff that I'm walking around with. The baggage from my childhood and from my life, I was carrying all that stuff and it's weighting me down. So I started working on all the things that got in my way to keep me from feeling.
And how did you start doing that? When you would hear your mom on your shoulder and when you heard that voice, what would you do?
Well, at first, I was going to find something to do to make me busy.
Right.
But up in the country, there wasn't a lot. So it was painful. It was very painful. And I did a lot of workshops I took one workshop, it's called the Hoffman Process. And it's an 8-day inner child workshop. And basically, they sort of take you apart and put you back together again. So you really go deep into both parents and what they gave you that's not working in your life. And you look at every piece. They take the pieces and break down what you got from your father and what you got from your mother. And at the end of the survey they give you, it says, you are your mother, you are your father. So all the things that they walked around with that you had trouble with, they're inside you. Mm-hmm. So getting in there and making a difference in those can change your life. Tough thing to do, but I did it, and I've got those stories to share to help people understand how to change their lives. I believe if you want to change the world, which a lot of people They want the world to change. But the thing gets back to, if you want the outside world to change, the only way to change is change your inside world.
Absolutely.
I love the cartoon where the guy is speaking to a big crowd, and he says, who wants changes? Everybody raises their hand. I do. And he said, well, who's willing to change? Nobody raises their hand. So there is the challenge, is finding people who are willing to look at their lives and say, I want it to be different than it is. What do I need to do?
I can relate to that. There is a scientific study, and I remember when it came out, that if you were within 20 feet of a person, now I don't remember for X amount of time, it wasn't very long, that your heart's going to start beating at the same rate. For me, it was all the proof I needed that all you had to do is change yourself, the person, and then the person next to you is affected, and the person next to you is affected, and so forth and so on. And I think that's beautiful, because
the ripple effect.
Yes.
It works.
Yes. So if I were to come up and say, I'm successful, have everything I want, I have everything I need, but I'm miserable, and I want you to help me figure out why I'm so miserable, what's one of the first things we would do?
Well, the first thing is, what is it you're miserable? What do you feel? Are you mad, sad, glad, scared? What is the emotion you're feeling?
Numbness.
Okay. All right. Numbness is usually because you're afraid. And so you just go numb, because if you're afraid, you don't want to feel it. So let's look at what you're afraid of. Everything, there's only two basic fears.
But I'm not afraid of anything. I've had all this success. I've had this family. I've had this cars and houses, and I've conquered people in boardrooms, and I'm not afraid of anything.
Okay.
I'm just numb.
Then why are you here?
Because I'm numb.
Okay. So numb, you like being numb.
I don't
How's
like it.
How's it working for you?
I don't like it, and that's why I'm looking for a coach. But I just wonder what's going to happen when I start working with you.
Oh, your life will change. If you want it to do, it'll change.
Okay.
You know, it's all about, there's two basic fears, or two basic emotions, fear and love. So everything, numbness comes from which one of those you think?
Fear.
Okay. So then we have to go in there and say, all right, what's underneath the numbness? What is, or what are you carrying around that makes you numb? And let's look at it and what we can do about it.
So it's a lot of personal work, self-talk work, like talking back and forth. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, you tell me, let us get to the point of what you're dealing with, and then we can figure out how to get there. I've done all kinds of different things. We just have to figure out what it is that you're tripping over, and then we'll figure out what to do about it. I've got resources that go on and on and on. So it's about you. What's going on with you that's making you numb? That's our first step, is let's get underneath the numb and say, all right, what is it? And it might take a while for you to get to the point of going past your numbness.
Okay. But you have an arsenal of tools that can help me get there. Yes. So you don't know what you're going to go with next because we haven't started working together.
Yeah. Well, I was only numb 40 years, so I know a little about numbness. And I was abused as a child, so I just became numb and spent my life numb, because then I didn't feel anything and I didn't have to deal with it. So I know a lot about numbness.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, how do I know that how do you work with you? Like, how do I know when I'm finished?
Well, you'll never be finished. I'll tell you that. Okay. I'm still working on stuff. You get to a point that you're feeling comfortable enough to go on your own and do your own. And if it never happens, it's one of those things that you'll know, this is about you. This is about helping you find a place that you're comfortable with and you're satisfied with what's going on in your life. Right now, you say you're numb, you're not feeling it. Let's get past that. We could do that next week, but I doubt it. But, it's a matter of how much you want to change, and how much, if the numbness is affecting your family, your wife, your children, your relatives, your work, what's it affecting? How is it affecting your life? Numbness typically affects everything. Mine did. I was very successful in the business world because I was numb, because it's a good trait to have. You can go in a boardroom and negotiate with people. They can't hurt you because you're numb. Mm-hmm. I've sat in meetings with 5 attorneys and me, and I win because they can't hurt me. I'm numb. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's successful in the business world, but I've been married 4 times, divorced 4 times. It doesn't work there. Right. So, it's one of those things you've got to learn. If it's affecting your life, okay, where is it affecting it? What do you want to change? How much are you willing to put into it?
And are you going to work with me one-on-one, or am I going to, or do you have, how are we going to get started?
Well, in the beginning, it's you and I, and we decide what it is we need in our arsenal to make a difference.
Okay. All right. And how long will it take? You said it doesn't matter. You don't know how long it'll take.
No.
Okay.
It's up to you, because you're going to dictate what's going to happen. It's your stuff, and I can lay out and say, all right, here's what I'm seeing. What do you want to do with it?
Okay. So how do I know what I'm going to pay you? Like,
Well, we
what does
don't
it
know.
cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as we move along, I can tell you,
Okay.
you know, it's like anything else. It'll be worth what you're willing to pay for it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's. I'm not cheap. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money to be where I am. So I'm going to charge a good rate, but you're going to get 3 times that back from it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, sign me up.